I've stumbled upon this really unique project for a lakeside restaurant. It has quite an interesting roof, so I thought, well, how do we do that in Revit? I found a way and I'm going to be showing you everything step by step in this video. Let's go. Now, quickly before we jump into Revit, I would just like to ask you to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com. I'm going to link it up in the cards above and then also down in the description of this video. If you're serious about mastering Revit, we are an Autodesk authorized training center. We offer different kinds of training and we have over 150 hours of content on balkanarchitect.com. So if you're serious about mastering Revit, that's definitely the best place to be. Now, without any further ado, let's jump straight into Revit. And here we are in Revit, and I've already loaded in the image. This is the best site plan image I could find. I rotated it, I've scaled it and pinned it in place, so we can now get started on the roof. So what I'll do first is I'm just going to actually jump into the roof tool, obviously, and then I'm just going to sketch out the outline of the roof. So for that, I'm just going to use simple lines and then just start from here. And now we're simply sketching out the outline of the roof. Now, once we have this in place, I'm just going to use the fillet arc tool in order to get these basically filleted edges on this building. Same thing goes here, just like that. And there we go. So now we have the outline of this building. Now this roof is only going to be there to help me with the initial shape of the building. So I'm just going to turn off the slope. So just select all of the lines, go here to define the slope and just check that off. Then I'm going to hit finish and now we have this roof. If I go to the 3D view, this is what that looks like. Okay, so now the next step is going to be to actually start modeling the roof. So for that, I'm going to go here to Massing and Site and then turn on Show Mass and click on In Place Mass. It's going to call it Mass 1, perfectly fine, click OK, and now let's get started. Now the main tool that I'm going to be using for this is going to be the Spline Through Points. It's a very powerful tool, especially for these curved buildings. So just select that, and now I'm going to start placing points like this on the edges of this building. So I'm just going to do one line here, just like so. And then I'm just going to repeat that on the rest of the edges. Now, once we have that in place, let's go back to the level 2 floor plan. And here I want to basically have the middle of the roof. Now, I cannot see it at the moment. So what I'll do is I'm just going to jump here and turn on the wireframe option for the visual style. And now I can see the top of that roof. Here we have kind of this very weird, unique situation. We'll cover that a bit later on, but for now, let's just use again Spline Through Points, and then I'm just going to host it again on this roof and start from here, and then place points just like so. One here and then stop in the middle over here. Hit the escape key and now let's do the same starting from here, and then I'm just going to go, oops, let's go actually back. Let's start again. So just follow this line, and then I'm just going to go into one direction from here and then perhaps stop it there, hit the escape key and then start off again from here and do something like that perhaps. Now this is something that you don't want to see, this overlap, so I'm just going to fix that by perhaps moving this point a little bit and then moving this one. So you want to be really careful not to have that overlap. So it might not follow this perfectly, that's okay, just you definitely don't want to see that that overlap in the lines. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, I think this looks very good right now. So we have pretty much the kind of the main setup for this roof. Okay, so once this is done, now it's time to basically start moving these points up in the air in order to get the actual shape of the roof. So we need to move this up, but you can see that we don't really have any options to move it up. We don't have those arrows. So for that, what we need to do is we need to just uncheck driven by host. So when you uncheck that, as you can see, you can move that point. Now what I'll do is I'm just going to hold the control key and then select the rest of these points. So I've selected only the points in the middle, and I'm just going to uncheck driven by host. And now any one of these that they select, as you can see, I can move them in space. And that's exactly what I want. So for this one, I'm just going to move it up like so I can get to that kind of top part of the roof, perhaps like that. Then for the rest of these, we're just going to be moving them around in order to kind of get the rest of the shape. So move this one up here, move this one just like that, and I'm just going to now continue doing this. As you can see, it's very repetitive, takes a little bit of time, but that's how we get to the actual shape. Now, at a certain point, it might get a little bit difficult to navigate this shape. So what I like to do is I like to use this view cube in order to kind of position myself so I can see, okay, what's going on with these lines. So here I can see, okay, perhaps we have a bit more room to lift this up here. Then this point can go up there, just like that. This one as well, this one too. This one that can go up, then this one as well. So these kind of elevation views are going to help you quite a bit when it comes to moving these points around and just getting this shape to look as clean as possible. And then you can just kind of orbit around, see if anything looks out of place. Here it doesn't. So yeah, it's all looking very nice. Perhaps this point, if it goes down, no. Oh, perhaps like that. Perfect. Okay, so now we can see that this is really starting to look well, no matter which side I look at it from. So let's just orbit around again, just see what's going on there. Yeah, this is all looking very, very nice. So I'm happy with this layout. I'm actually going to lift everything up just a little bit. So let's go to front elevation, and then I'll just use the up arrow to just move everything up slightly. Okay, I think this is now looking very nice. And now perhaps the top points, we do have a bit room to move them down like so. This one as well, just because we don't want them to be too pointy. Okay, this one. Okay, there we go. So let's say we found a shape that we're happy with. So this looks nice. How do we actually turn this into a roof? So the next step is going to be to start kind of building that roof shape. So I'll do that by selecting 2 points like this. So here on the edge, select this one, hold the control key, select this one, and then click on spline through points, and it's going to connect it with a spline. And then I can do the same thing here, spline through points, and I'm just going to be repeating this on all of the crucial parts of this roof structure. And now, as you can see, it's starting to look more like an actual roof structure. And now we can start turning this skeleton into actual surfaces that we can then turn into roofs. So we do that simply by selecting these splines. Now here we have an issue that this spline is going all the way through, but we need to separate this. So each of these kind of 4-sided surfaces or sides need to be turned into surfaces. So for that, we need to divide this spline into 3 splines. So let's go here to split element. You want to uncheck delete inner segment, and then you want to delete it here at this point. And then you want to repeat that same thing here. Perfect. And now as you can see, this is 1, 2, 3. Perfect. Okay, so we want to do the same thing here on the bottom. So let's go again to split element. Again, make sure delete inner segment is off, and then you click once at this point, and then once at this point. Perfect. So we have this one, and this one. And now we basically start creating surfaces. So I'm just going to select this. So it's actually a chain of 2 lines. Hold the control key, select this one and this one, go to create form. And it's actually going to create something that looks like this. and you might not have the option for a surface. In this case, I do. So for some reason it popped up on my second screen, but it's basically two options. Do you want an extrusion or do you want a surface? So if you do an extrusion by accident, let me show you that. So I just select this, hold the control key, select here, here. Oh, we need to split this one as well. So let's go to split here. Perfect. Hold the control key, select that one, that one, that one, and that one. Create form. So if you accidentally create like a surface like so, it's going to select the or keep the kind of the this side selected. So you simply hit delete and it's going to delete everything apart from the surface that's over here. See, so the surface is there. Now if you cannot see those surfaces very well, you can turn the shaded function and on, and then you can see these kind of purple ones are the surfaces. And now of course I can hit finish mass and then just hide or delete this roof, and then select the mass again, go to edit in place, and now we can continue. So I'm just going to fast forward this because it's pretty repetitive. So you're basically just splitting the splines, then selecting four-sided pieces and turning those into surfaces, and that's pretty much the whole process. Okay, so now we're having trouble with this center part, and what I've noticed is it won't create the element shape. However, what's going on here is, again, we have that overlap. So I tried not getting that, but it did happen. So I'm just going to move this a tad. Okay, so hopefully this fixes it. But now when we create this shape, so I'm just holding the control key, getting that form. Okay, so it's going to create a form that looks like this. So it's not going to be ideal, but overall, I think it works very, very good with the entire shape. And that's it. So now I can just hit finish mass. Then we can go to massing and site, go to roof. I can pick out any roof that I want, pick out the surface, create roof. And there we go. So as you can see, it's basically creating that roof along the surface that we have. So we can just continue doing that all the way around. Now, if you select multiple sides, what I've noticed, it will give you an error message. So for whatever reason, you need to go one by one, and then it will work. Now let's see the tricky part on top. Will it work? No, it won't. So it will work here, I think, perhaps. Yeah, this part will work, but these here little triangles, it's really having difficulty with that. So one way to avoid this, I'm just going to delete this, is to actually place a small roof segment here and then use the options that we have for the roof in order to kind of fix that. So let me show you how that works. I'm just going to go with level 2, click yes, use pick lines to pick these lines here, hit finish, so we have that roof, and now we can just move it up. So let's give it an offset, something like that. Okay, so it's there, almost in place. Oh, I think it looks at the correct place. So now we go to modify sub-elements, and now we can move these points. So I'm just going to move this point up here, select this point, move it up there, select this point, move it up there. So now, as you can see, it kind of jumped up in the middle here above where it should be. So you would have to add additional points in those places and then try to kind of fit it in there. So it's not ideal, obviously, but it does give you a solution that's going to be quite reasonable and work quite well. So I'm just going to place one more here, just like that. Oops. It's kind of hard to get it to the correct place. There we go. Obviously, you can add more points and then it's going to look better, but yeah, that's the approach. Now I'm just going to go here to massing and site, turn off show mass, and now we have just a clean roof that's quite unique, quite interesting, and we made it possible inside of Revit. Now, if you would like to get this Revit project file, you can find that on my Patreon page. I'm going to link that up in the cards above and also down in the description of this video. That's where you can get all of my Revit project files from these YouTube tutorials. Thank you for watching, guys. Make sure to check out my website, balkanarchitect.com, for more Revit courses. There I have over 120 hours of content, and I'm adding more each week. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and also I've added a video over there that might interest you as well.